The hardest part of today's market is standing out. For example, if I said roguelike deck builder, you'll likely think of Slay the Spire. It makes sense. Most of these games either created the genre or popularized it, which in turn makes it a simple reference point. While such practices can be useful, especially when trying to quickly sell a concept, it can be rather reductive. Many will get lost in what they think it should be, instead of focusing on what the developers hope to achieve. It is a hard battle, one that Knock on the Coffin Lid needs to overcome. With its own take on deck building genre, coupled with an overwhelming amount of secrets to uncover, is it worth checking out, or is it just another Slay the Spire? Knock on the Coffin Lid starts by introducing the core premise. Basically, you died, were revived, and now are stuck in a time loop until you obtain the knowledge needed to complete your task. On a basic level, I like when games try to make the gameplay loop a plot point. It is a big part of what made Deathloop such an intriguing concept. Here, it's debatable.
The wine you brought on the trip was poisoned. Ingvar, Venadis, Bjorn, they're all dead.
Go on. Are there any more surprises?
You've moved back, not in space, but in time. Everything that happened after your resurrection hasn't happened yet.
So what now? Should I start over? You promised to answer my questions.
All right, one thing at a time. Tell me everything you remember.
Most of the narrative is centered around world building. Not only is it a lot to take in, early runs are bogged down by an overwhelming amount of exposition. Part of this is due to the concept itself. Since each run is supposed to be the character recounting the events to Mortis, events start with some flavor text about the situation. Depending on your choices, this will either result in more dialogue, some kind of reward, or a fight. After experiencing a key event for the first time, there will be another exchange. Unlike the event dialogue, this one expands on the larger narrative in some capacity. Though, again, it's usually supplemental information that has little to do with the larger task of killing Sigismund and the larger threats beyond him. For better or worse, each of the three characters have unique dialogue as well. As a result, it can be a lot to keep track of, especially since it is presented in a non-linear fashion and can take a while to locate missing exchanges. Finally, for those who get invested in the journey, you will need the DLC to see the conclusion. At first glance, Knock on the Coffin Lid looks like a simple game. You draw cards, play a few of them, and repeat until someone dies. However, it is surprisingly deep. Unfortunately, the tutorial does a terrible job of conveying this to players. Instead of teaching nuance, it focuses on the fundamentals. It reminds me a lot of fighting game tutorials where you learn what to do, but are left on your own to figure out how to utilize it. The basic gist is simple. The red circle near an enemy indicates what their next move will be, which allows players to plan accordingly. Over time, there will be a wide variety of variables to account for. These include additional attacks, multiple enemies, buffs, debuffs, and more. To help illustrate this, here's a boss fight from one of my runs. As you can see, the boss is going to attack me for 24 damage, and since I have 24 health, this is checkmate. The only thing I can do in response is drink a potion or accept defeat. However, I happen to have 2 armor. Armor mitigates damage at a 1-to-1 ratio, meaning I'll only lose 22 health. From there, any damage will win the fight, so I don't need to use a potion. Plus I'll get a full heal since this is a boss fight. Understanding how all these things come together is extremely important. For example, if I know an enemy will die regardless, I'm free to focus on something else.
His ordeal is over.
The only downside is, again, you'll know when you're cooked before it happens. Where things start to get complicated are the various different classes. Basically, each character has 4 different versions that change how you approach, well, everything. Let's start by looking at Percival. His first class is called Versatile, and rewards players with 2 strength if no damage was taken on the previous turn. Considering most basic attacks deal 6 or so damage, and strength increases damage at a 1-to-1 ratio, it takes around 3 turns to double your attack. This quickly snowballs, provided you think defensively. Gold Digger is the staple high-risk, high-reward class. As the name suggests, everything is centered around gold. Various cards increase it, battles give more of it, and there are extremely powerful cards that can be used in exchange for a lot of it. What makes it risky are cards like Wallet Strike and Greed. Since Wallet Strike converts 20% of your gold to damage, it can easily one-shot most enemies. However, every 100 coins in your possession at the start of battle will result in 1 Greed card being added to your deck. While the card itself is harmless, it takes about 2,000 gold to safely one-shot most enemies. By the final boss, a deck is around 30 cards, so about half will be worthless. And trust me, it can result in some unfortunate situations. Nets is a knight class, which unsurprisingly focuses on defense. Not only are there big rewards for taking no damage, enemies can be recruited. Unfortunately, this comes with 2 considerable downsides. The first is success is very rare. I've legitimately gone entire runs without a single recruitment. It also occurs on the enemy's turn. This might not sound important, but it means damage over time effects can supersede recruitment and kill the enemy. Finally, there is the veteran class. The gimmick here is to never use the same card type twice in a row. As long as you can maintain the rotation, it will eventually allow you to play every card on every turn. It's just very bland, and the first couple of stages are brutal. For other characters, there is Bjorn, an elf-turned werewolf. Success with him relies on proper management of health and his werewolf disadvantages. And the last character is Vanitas. She is a summoner that benefits greatly from understanding the unique advantages each class's pet offers. Not only do each of these classes have their own playstyle, they benefit from different equipment. Some of the worst sounding gear is simply designed for a specific class, and when used correctly, can be extremely overpowered. Speaking of, I also love that Knock on the Coffin Lid allows players to be overpowered. There are certain combos that, if obtained, all but guarantee success. It is also cool that the story and challenge modes cater to different players. In addition to encouraging trial and error, story offers various difficulties and a set path. I can start by recruiting the drunk dwarf, use our combined power to stop the bomber, recruit the other dwarf hiding in a chest, and then go to the next area with ideally 2 partners. Since each character has different interactions, and in some cases lack the event outright, said path will differ. Classes also make a difference due to their unique aspects. Perhaps the best example of this is the father and son event. Unless you choose to save the mother, which requires a very specific chain of events, you have 2 options. Spend multiple turns reasoning with the father, or try to kill him. I don't like the event because it is rather boring, but it is invaluable when playing as Gold Digger. This is because you are basically given 5 or so turns to generate gold. Just focus on armor and then negotiate with him. Those looking for more variety have challenge mode. Here, difficulty is seemingly set on normal, and each path is randomized. At best, I can examine the map at the start of the adventure. Since I can't rely on a specific chain of events, I need to make the most of whatever I get. It keeps things interesting, even if it's the same content presented differently. Naturally, if you can have an extremely lucky run, it is also possible to have a hopeless one. Sometimes the deer will be terrible, the hands are not in your favor, and it's a massive uphill battle. Unfortunately, I think the bad experiences are more common. Some of this is due to how much luck is required to get an overpowered run, though a lot of it is just how the game works. This happens a lot with negative cards. I'll get multiple throughout the fight, and then end up pulling them all in a single go. It sucks losing your turn, just like it sucks taking a massive punishment because luck isn't on your side. Admittedly, this is something I'd say falls in the skill issue category, though it would be nice if there were more protections, even if they were exclusive to lower difficulties. It also feels rather odd given how other mechanics work. Take evasion. As the name suggests, it allows a combatant to avoid a single hit regardless of damage. The nice thing is the effect only procs if said attack deals HP damage. If I have enough armor to answer the attack, it will simply decrease my total. This allows me to save the dodge for when I truly need it, or simply opt out of playing defensively for a turn. It is also rather easy to remove a number of negative cards from your deck. Certain events do it, as well as vendors for a small fee. I get some of this is also designed with Ascension effects in mind. These are passive bonuses that are unlocked by completing challenges. Once active, they will give better starting items, more options, additional power, and so forth. It just takes a while to unlock, not to mention it isn't the best way to balance things. Before getting into the DLC, I wanted to touch on a couple things. Anyone who supported Knock on the Coffin Lid during the early access phase will receive this DLC for free. If you are eligible but did not receive this DLC, contact Red Boom via social media or the email listed in the video and its description below. Not only is this a great gesture to see, I also love seeing a mental support team listed in the credits. Anyway, the DLC's value is surprisingly straightforward. This is due to the unlock conditions. To access the DLC, players need to beat the game as every character, defeat the second final boss, and receive the good ending. When all three characters have a red crypt, the DLC can be played. How long this takes will vary, though in my case it was well over 15 hours. This is also where various negative reviews stem from. Players were suggested they reset progress only to find out they needed to redo everything to gain access. As for the content itself, it is more of the same. Tarot cards offer unique challenges, like no healing outside of killing enemies, and certain events have new options. It is more of a revamp of the base game than something completely new. I don't think this is bad per se, but enjoyment comes down to how invested you are in the core experience. Those looking for new challenges or more narrative will absolutely enjoy it. However, those sick of the core gameplay loop will likely be underwhelmed. For those who don't know, I use a ROG Ally for all PC coverage. This means every video in this review was captured directly from it in the 15-watt performance mode. While it is nice to know Knock on the Coffin Lid should run fine on a portable gaming PC, I mostly mention it due to the built-in controller. At the time of writing this review, controller performance is dodgy. This is a known issue, one that supposedly occurs when swapping between mouse and controller. For whatever reason, it would impact my ROG Ally, making the controller aspect frustrating to use. This can be resolved by plugging in a mouse or using the touch controls. So it's more of an annoyance that I thought some people would want to know about than a major issue. I can also confirm the same problems occurred with a Bluetooth controller, but not with a mouse. I had a lot of fun playing through Knock on the Coffin Lid. Each class offered a new way to play, which forced me to change my way of thinking. I couldn't rely on the same tactics, different perks became desirable, not to mention some of the worst gear was suddenly invaluable. It really changed how I experienced things and kept the experience fresh. This is also something the DLC furthers, assuming you enjoy the core gameplay loop. And while there are a lot of positives, even the negatives are not that bad. Story is all over the place and can be overwhelming at first, but it isn't repeated and can be skipped if you don't care. The same is even more so true for events. Even some of the bitter complaints, such as RNG, really depends on the person. Personally, I love the potential, I just think it could be better balanced. So, if you are a fan of this genre or just want to try something new, I'd say it is worth giving Knock on the Coffin Lid a chance. And if you like the core experience, you'll likely enjoy the DLC as well. Hey, thanks for watching. If you found the video helpful, please consider liking, and for more content, please subscribe.